Hi, it is Thursday, June 30th, 2022. My name's Larissa. And before I do any card reading or start reading my next novel, which I will do in other clips, I need to address something. A few days ago, I had a post removed that by YouTube on the grounds of medical misinformation. I was discussing the COVID vaccines, and the facts that I was stating were, in fact, not misinformation, but accurate. And I am pro-choice, and I'm pro-choice for medicine across the board. I'm a pro-choice person in general in all aspects of life, being able to make autonomous decisions about the sovereign boundaries of my body, and for other people to be able to make those same decisions for about the sovereign boundaries of their own body. And all of the vaccines for the COVID virus have been derived from medical research and processes that use fetal stem cells, aborted fetal stem cells. Now, there are two ways there are two places where stem cells are derived, and it is from aborted fetal tissue or from umbilical cord blood. Those are the two places where fetal stem cells are available. And fetal stem cell and stem cell research has been going on for a very, very long time. This isn't something new. And there are many, many medical therapies that have been used for many years that are based on the use of fetal stem cells and other stem cells, but specifically fetal stem cells. These technologies have been used in skincare products. In the late 80s, there was a product called New Skin that was using fetal stem cells for skin regeneration. It was a topical application. And I know about this product because my father was considering working for them, selling for them, until he found out that they used fetal stem cells. Oh my God! And then he and my mother had a fit, right? Well, there's lots of therapies that use fetal stem cell research, including hormone and gene therapy. And I am not a medical doctor. But I'm not stupid either, and I'm able to read. So when I made this comment, I was talking about fetal stem cells and talking about the fact that they were used in the genesis of the COVID vaccines, whether the Moderna or the Pfizer vaccine. It is accurate. Those vaccines would not exist were it not for aborted fetal tissue. And I was making a comment in the post that was taken down that perhaps all of these states that that are now able to ban abortion because of their trigger laws, because of the overturn of Roe versus Wade, perhaps they should be denied all vaccines, all of the COVID vaccines, because were generated because of fetal stem cell research, right? So, to prove that I'm not a moron and that I am accurate in saying this, I have this article that I found that I had read because there was a big deal about it, because at first the Pope said, "Oh, well, you don't have if you don't feel comfortable taking one," because I can't remember if it was Pfizer or the Moderna one first that it was released that it was generated from fetal stem cells. So you can take the other. Well, then after all these people took these vaccines, then it was released that, oh, no, in fact, they were both generated using fetal stem cells. And the Vatican's like, oh, that's okay. But meanwhile, they're still pushing for overturn of Roe versus Wade to make it illegal for there to be abortion. So all of this medical research, right, where are these medical innovations going to come from, right? It'll be from disenfranchised women who are given abortions not only illegally, but without their knowledge or consent. So there's this article from Science magazine, which has won a Pulitzer Prize for their reporting on COVID-19. So this was an article from June 5th, 2020. Abortion opponents protest COVID-19 vaccine's use of fetal stem cells. 2 candidates on White House shortlist will receive up to $1.7 billion. Science's COVID-19 reporting is supported by the Pulitzer Center. Senior Catholic leaders in the United States and Canada, along with other anti-abortion groups, are raising ethical objections to promising COVID-19 vaccine candidates that are manufactured using cells derived from human fetuses electively aborted decades ago. They have not sought to block government funding for the vaccines, which include 2 candidate vaccines that the Trump administration plans to support with an investment of up to $1.7 billion, as well as a third candidate made by a Chinese company in collaboration with Canada's National Research Council, the NRC. But they are urging funders and policymakers to ensure that companies develop other vaccines that do not rely on such human fetal cell lines, and in the United States, asking the government to incentivize firms to only make vaccines that don't rely on fetal cells. It is critically important that Americans have access to a vaccine that is produced ethically. No American should be forced to choose between being vaccinated against this potentially deadly virus and violating his or her conscience. Members of the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops and 20 other religious, medical, and political organizations that oppose abortion wrote to Stephen Hahn, Commissioner of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, in April. Thankfully, other COVID-19 vaccines utilize cell lines not connected with unethical procedures and methods. We urge your government to fund the development of vaccines that do not create an ethical dilemma for many Canadians, wrote Archbishop of Winnipeg Richard Gangon, president of the Canadian Conference on Catholic Bishops, and 17 other anti-abortion religious, medical, and political groups and individuals in a 21 May letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. The manufacture of vaccines using such ethically tainted human cell lines demonstrates profound disrespect for the dignity of the human person. It goes on. The article goes on, and has more information. So science.org is the website, and you can read this article for yourself. It was written by Meredith Wadman. Now, it's not just COVID vaccines. And my issue is not that this technology was used. My issue goes beyond this, and it falls into the issues of patent law and the patenting of human genome, right? Because what is slavery? Slavery is owning the body of another human. Slavery is owning and profiting from the body of another human. Whose genetic material was this? An aborted fetal stem cells? Electively aborted? Okay. I have no problem with that. But that genetic material, those companies are profiting from. And who does that genetic material belong to? They're profiting from the body, from the bodies of 2 other people. It takes a sperm and an ovum to make an embryo. So there's a male and a female out there, and potentially family members and descendants of a male and a female, who made that aborted fetus, who made that fetus that was then electively aborted. And these companies are profiting on a global scale. I don't want to participate in a business such as that. Who are these people? Who are these people? Should they not be the most wealthy people in the world? Should they not be entitled to profit from their own body? It's their genetic material. It's their genetic material. It is part of their body. I wasn't lying. I wasn't lying. The Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines were developed using aborted fetal stem cells. The other issue I have here is the right to death on your own terms. So if it is a fact that if you are vaccinated, even fully vaccinated, triple boosted, whatever it means, you can still catch, develop, and transmit the virus. That's a fact. It's also a fact that some people die from the virus, whether they are vaccinated or not. So how is it ethical to require somebody to have the vaccine for employment? Who's being protected? More importantly, who is profiting? It's certainly not the 2 persons or more whose genetic material were used in that research process. Stem cells are very unique in that they have the ability to become anything, right? When they grow stuff in a petri dish, you see, oh, they're growing a human ear in a petri dish. Oh, they're growing a human ear on a mouse's back. They're using stem cells to do that. And stimulating and manipulating those stem cells into that growth. And just before the pandemic, there was also new research and new developments in using pigs, right? And crossing pigs. They're making chimuras, crossing fetal pigs with human genetics, and growing these fetal pigs in fake amniotic sacs. And they were doing this specifically for harvesting organs that were being grown, designer grown organs for people, right? And the idea is that then if they're using genetic material from that matches a human who is in need of an organ or body part replacement of some sort, that there'll be a lower chance of rejection, right? Because that's always a chance when something is, when surgery is performed and you have a transplant. Rejection is always a possibility. And so the idea that if you can use human genetic material, stem cells, and that they are bioidentical and that the body's immune system will then not attack them. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. I've just, I don't have a lot of friends. So I spend a lot of time learning things that I'm interested in, learning about things, right? This is true. This is true, because I remember at the same time that all of this was coming out, and then it was hushed. It was also around the time that the Impossible Burger came out on the market, and this is really interesting technology because it's a similar kind of idea, right? Making this hairspray on my hair, and it's making my face. Everything makes my face itch. Everything. So the Impossible Burger it bleeds like animal meat because it is made using heme from a fungus, and the heme is what is in your blood. Hemoglobin. It's what makes your blood red. It's what carries the iron in your blood, and that's why these fake burgers bleed. It was really interesting because I was like all excited to go try these Impossible Burgers, right? Because miss eating meat. Tastes good. Tastes real good, and it makes it a lot easier to eat with other people if you can eat what they're eating, kind of thing. And anyway, so I went and tried these Impossible Burgers, and they made me sick the same way that eating animal flesh makes me sick. What do I mean by it makes me sick? Does it make me vomit, projectile vomit? No. It does sometimes make me feel nauseated. It gives me a headache. It gives me brain fog. And it makes my joints hurt. And it makes digestion challenging for me. My body doesn't digest it well. And my body responded in the same way to the Impossible Burger as it does to animal flesh. I thought it was really interesting. That's why I started learning about it. That's why I looked into that information. And my comment, my thought was, well, if they can do this with fungus, right, with heme, the heme from fungus, why can't they grow bioidentical parts for transplant instead of abusing all of these animals? You know, a fetal pig can't give its consent, and the idea of making a chimera, I have real issue with that. Crossing human genetics with animal genetics, oh my God. That animal can't consent to that. And, neither is the human being. How would you feel if you found out that your genetic material was being used to cross with animals? It's an individual choice, right? And how you're going to feel about that. But either way, whether you'd be like, oh, cool, I want to help humanity, and if my body can help do that, that's your business if that's the way you feel that way. But you might not feel that way. And either way, wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to have the opportunity to say, no, thank you, don't do that with my body? Because if that's being done with your body without your consent, without your knowledge, you are, by definition, a slave. By definition, a slave. Your body is owned by a medical company. There's an issue with inbreeding, right? Like if you have offspring with a biological family member that's too close, right? And you have problems with birth defects, right? So are there issues if you start injecting people who are related to the fetal tissue that was used? I don't know. But it's a question, isn't it? When I go to a restaurant, I'd like to know if there's MSG in the food, not because I begrudge anybody eating MSG or consuming MSG. Go ahead and consume MSG if you want, but I want to know if it's in there. I don't want it. It makes my face itch. It makes my face itch and gives me heart palpitations. I don't want MSG. I'd like to know. Please write it on your menu. I think we have a right to know what we are being demanded to put in our bodies. Where did it come from? Where did it come from? Anyway, those are my comments. And this is my perspective. It's nobody else's. And it is accurate that the Moderna and the Pfizer COVID vaccines were made using aborted fetal stem cells. Sorry, truth hurts. And it's not the only medical therapies that utilizes such research. Many, many, many things. So, anyway, I said some other things in the clip that was taken down, and part of me wonders if those things were the things that were actually being censored. I'm censored all the time. Anyway, I'm going to do another clip with the card reading, and then we'll start the next novel, Passion's Torrent.